What's going on, everybody? I'm your host, Sam Wontalk. This is the Moderately Athletic Podcast. I'm joined by Mr. Ethan Decker, and coming back after a brief stint away, we have Tyler Noctigal. He's back. Tyler, did you fix your computer problems?
I did, yeah. It really did not take much, to be honest with you. I dropped it, brought it in. It seemed like he kind of just shook it, and it was working. So we're back to business.
Did it cost a lot for him to shake it, or was it a reasonable price?
Very reasonable.
That's good. That's good, at least.
Shout out,
Decker,
Mac,
how's
guys.
Matt fixed it. Okay.
No, the Mac guys is their name. Shout out.
Oh, okay. Because I heard Matt, and I was like, Matt, our friend. So
the computer.
Yes, the friend of the podcast. Okay, that makes more sense. Decker, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Sam. I'm ready to get into it here.
All right, well, that's awesome. So then let's not waste any more time. Let's get into it. We have our Week 12 reactions. We're going to be talking about those games and what we thought. We've taken some games out that kind of were stinky, but we're going to cover the best games. And starting off, this will be brief. We're going to talk about the Bills versus the Lions. The Bills went to Ford Field for the second week in a row, and they beat the Lions on Thanksgiving 28-25. This was a very competitive game, a great way to start off Thanksgiving. And yeah, Tyler, I think that you said you had something to say about this game. What would you like to talk about?
Briefly, it's weird. The Bills are on a bit of a cold streak right now, even though they're still winning some games here. But against the Lions, it's not hard to do. This Lions secondary is just, or not Lions, excuse me, the Bills secondary, just defense in general is just looking so banged up right now. They need their starters, and they need them back pretty desperately here. And Josh Allen's still, he's still looking like he's in a slump right now. He's not playing his best ball right now, and it's leading to them having close games against not good teams. And so that's exactly what this game was too, and it was a little bit of the Lions kind of playing up to their opponent. So a little bit of that, but not a whole lot about the Bills. But I just want to touch on the Lions real quick. That this might looks like a really good game for the Lions. They could have won it. It was a 3-point game, but it kind of came down to Jared Goff and a little bit of. We heard, or at least I saw, that a lot of people are calling out Dan Campbell for clock management at the end of the game. I will say, if Jared Goff was a better QB, like none of that would be said. On the fourth down play, when he tried to go for, I'm pretty sure it was Chark, deep, the Bills sent a blitz, and if you're a good QB with good processing power, you know that your hot route against a blitz is a slant across the middle, which was exactly what Amon-Ra St. Brown was on, and he had been feasting the entire game, yet he threw it deep to an open DJ Chark. And he was open. He just flat out missed the throw. So not only did he miss the throw that he, the wide receiver deep was open, but he missed his hot route. Which would have converted into a first down. So it gets interesting for the Lions because they do have a top 10 pick right now with the Rams' first round pick. Do they select a QB there, or do they go defense? It'll be very interesting to me because, yes, the future in Detroit is very bright, but they're still lacking at the QB position, and you can't win with Jared Goff.
Yeah, that's definitely something that's going to be interesting to watch. I don't know if they'll try and stick it with Jared for another year, because on their recent 4-game streak, he has played better. Plus, their defense has as well. That's definitely something to talk about when looking at the Bills being this close to the Lions, because they have looked better currently than the record might show. But I think that they'd probably address other things first, since Goff is still semi-serviceable. Decker, anything to add?
Well, I just remember, Sam, we talked about in the Thanksgiving episode, we said, Bills and Lions would be pretty closer than people thought. It was a 9.5-point favorites for the Bills, and it ended up being a 3-point win, last-second field goal. So, Bills are struggling. I think tomorrow against New England, it'll still be a close game for them. I would see no blowout. But to pose off Tyler's talk about the Detroit quarterback, I feel like this year might be defense first round. Again, like with Hutchinson this past year, because the way they're playing right now, I don't think they're gonna be unless like a Stroud or something slid. I don't think they're not gonna get a Bryce Young or a Stroud. And would they be comfortable going for one of those mid-tier quarterbacks like a Will Levis from Kentucky or an Anthony Richardson out of Florida? Do they really feel comfortable with some of those guys? And we'll see once Combine and Pro Days start coming about. But yeah, I think if I was saying right now, I would say Lions go defense first round. Address maybe a secondary position or linebacker.
Yeah. I mean, we'll talk about it when we get there. So, but I would disagree. Yep. I think they get a QB here, to be honest with you. But we'll talk about it when we get there. Things are going to change, obviously, but.
Yep, draft is around the corner, so
yeah,
we'll get there. But of course, Lions are still on pace for 10-7. Moving on, we have the Vikings versus the Pats. Vikings, as we are all very aware of, had to try and steer the ship after a very embarrassing loss to the Cowboys at home, and they had their chance against Billy Belichick and his fellas, and they won 33-26. So Decker, I think I'll let you start with this one, being the Vikings fan. What do you think impressed you the most about this win for the Vikings?
I think two things that really stood out to me was the pass protection from the O-line. Obviously the week before, on a short week, only 4 days, they got tore apart in the Dallas game by Micah Parsons in that D-line. And to come back on Thanksgiving night against New England, who, they don't slouch on the pass rushing front, especially with Matt Judon and Dietrich Wise, who were, I believe, I can't remember if it was 1 or 2. I know it was Daniil and Zadarius, and then Dietrich Wise and Judon for the Patriots, and total pressures between them. And the fact that to not have Darisaw on there at tackle and have Blake Brandel step in for this game, and I think only 8 total hurries between Judon and Wise in this game. Like they were you didn't hear much about him, and a lot of people did think that they were. So I think pass protection for the most part impressed me. Number 2 was just Kirk being able to play good ball in this one. 81.2% completion percentage. Made a lot of smart choices. Obviously the deep balls to Jefferson, a lot of good passes there, but he was hit so many times in that game against Dallas. Usually the old Kirk would kind of take a step back and just really start to get flustered in the previous game or the games afterwards, and to come back in a short week and just be completely focused and making smart decisions in this game was really impressive. But yeah, the defense is maddening still. Donachel's defense, the bend don't break. It's getting really annoying right now. Mac Jones. I mean, a quarterback like Mac Jones and that Pats offense should not be moving the ball like the way they did against us. But I can't complain. I'm still happy the way we rebounded after a bad loss against Dallas to a win against New England.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with you on most of that, because there was only one play which Kirk seemed a little skittish, and that was the one he threw a pick on, because he was backing up onto his back foot. He just kind of like threw it up.
Yep.
I didn't think that was very smart, but I'm outside of that. I do think Kirk played a very solid game. Plus, just the coaching from Kevin was great. I think he made a lot of great calls and adjustments during the game. With just offensively was great. He just needs to talk to Mr. Donatel and tell him, like, hey man, I think you got to blitz more, because
it was it worked there at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Do more.
Yeah, which always can't blitz all the time, but it's like, gosh, just so much, just like deep and just no like real pressure. So yeah, something needs to get fixed there. Tyler, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, just a couple things, and it's just poetic that after getting blown out, you go right back to one score games, one possession games, and Decker hit on it. Mac Jones looked really, really good in this game, and that's with Matt Patricia sabotaging him pretty much the whole game. When Bailey Zappi was in, they ran like it was like twice as much play action for Zappi than they do Mac Jones. They are not helping Mac Jones whatsoever on the play calling front, and he has like yes, Jacoby Myers is nice, but outside of him, there's really no offensive weapons that he can throw to. So I think it is really impressive that he put up almost nearly 400 yards, 2 touchdowns. So tip my hat off to him. And it just, to me, it just kind of goes to show that Mac Jones he's better than people think. He's still not being like surrounded by a very good surrounding cast. They got to get Patricia out of there. He's not a good play caller. But I also will touch on the Patriots that they used absolutely no high-end draft capital. I don't think they even used one pick on their front seven, yet they held Dalvin Cook to 42 yards on 22 rushes, 1.9 yards per carry. Like that, Bill Belichick just knows how to run a defense, man. Like that front seven is executing at like an insane level for having like no help this offseason. So another, tip my hat off to him. But yeah, I mean, Justin Jefferson, man, he's just unguardable.
Oh my
He's
God, yeah.
so damn good. And, and I will say, the Patriots defense has been very good this year, So for him to go out and get 140 yards on 9 receptions, that's really good. That's what it feels like to have like a top 3 wide receiver in the league. But I still feel the same about the Vikings as I did 2 weeks ago. That Cowboys game pretty much reassured me on how I feel, and they're right back to the same old stuff. So, yeah, that's about it for me.
Well, all right. Quick little Jefferson thing. I was going to say that. That's what I always liked about watching Case Keenum back in 2017 was that he used to just throw it up so just that Diggs could catch it, just knowing that Diggs would get there, and Diggs would get there probably about most of the time. So to see Kirk finally try and do that as well, knowing that Jefferson will get it, is nice to watch and see. Moving on, we have the Broncos versus the Panthers. The Panthers and all of their great dysfunction won 23-10 against Mr. Let's Ride himself. And so this is a little funny story that I saw today, which just shows how much Mr. Wilson is losing that locker room. Russell Wilson's birthday was the other day, and Ciara sent out invites to the whole team to come celebrate Russell Wilson's birthday. And so according to Ciara herself, less than half of the team came to his birthday party. To be honest, as much as he sucks, I just felt so sad reading that. It's like, God, no one going to your birthday is just the saddest thing. But I mean, he kind of deserves it.
I could just see the tables of food all set up, birthday hats and all that, and just
oh
nothing.
Yeah, God, yeah, the food to feed an entire football team and only less than half show up. There was so many leftovers. Must have been crazy. I guess my question to you fellas is, do we put more of the blame on Russell Wilson just being trash and kind of cringe, or do we put more of the blame on Mr. Hackett for being an offensive mastermind that puts up 10 against the Panthers?
It's gonna go 50-50, but as they're both horrible. Yeah, you can't pick. For me, you can't pick one over the other. But that's just because they're both calling plays, coaching horribly, and playing horribly. After this weekend, I thought that there were gonna be 2 tarmac firings. I thought that it was gonna be Joe Barry, the Packers defensive coordinator, and then I thought it was going to be Nathaniel Hackett. I did not it's clear that at the end of this year Hackett's going to get fired, but I thought after this game against a really bad 3-8 Panthers team that I thought he was going to get clear, he's not going to fly home with the team, Yeah. So I'm kind of shocked, kind of not shocked. What would be the point of firing your head coach halfway through the season? Whatever. So, you got to also move on from Russ somehow. It's just not going to work there. Maybe you try to get a different head coach, play caller in there, but if the locker room is already that that moved on from him, and he's lost that many of them, then it's time to move on. So. But Panthers, yeah, they played pretty well. Nothing really astonishing, just Broncos just playing bad. And surprisingly, the Broncos defense played really bad this game, which has really been their strong suit, which has been entirely the reason they've been able to even win 3 games this year. So, not much to say. Panthers better.
Yeah, that's definitely pretty clear. Darnold, yeah. I mean, first start, he played pretty well. That was surprising. Decker,
DJ Moore played a really good game too, and he had Surtain on him, and Surtain basically fell off the face of the earth this game.
Yeah, DJ Moore is also quite good. Decker, anything to add?
Yeah, Russ is in there for 5 more years after signing that extension, and contract-wise, you're not going to be able to move off that. So I would, Hackett's going to be a one and done. That's pretty much already been assured. But with Russ, it's, it is very 50-50 because Russ, has this very eccentric personality to him, obviously with the let's ride and all this from before the season starts. So you think with that type of personality, he obviously needed to step up play, and we all thought better of Hackett. And, even these past 2 weeks, turning over the play calling to Clint Kubiak, who obviously was the former Vikings offense coordinator, and that hasn't changed a thing. Yeah. So I would like to see. I'm going to give Russ one more chance next year and see, and with this new ownership and who they hire, whether it be, maybe they go out and make a big splash and just go get a Sean Payton or something. So I will give Russ one more season before I completely write him off, but it's not looking great, to your point, Tyler.
For me, it's this offense. You don't hire a coach for this offense anymore. You hire a coach for this defense, and I think they should hire Dan Quinn. That would be so perfect.
He was a finalist,
And they get a defensive guy which they've done in the past, and they just need a game manager. They just need Teddy was kind of that when he was there. He was kind of like that game manager, but just really couldn't do enough to help the defense. But this defense is already so good that they just need a QB, an offense that can put up 20 points a game. That's all they need. They would be, what was the stat? If they put up 17 points a game, they would be
they'd be 8-3 now.
8-3. Yeah.
Yeah. So they flipped their record if they actually had an offense.
So, I say, move on from the offensive side. Well, not move on. Obviously, you got to find some help there, a different play caller, and then you hire a defense guy and really get this defense sound. That's kind of what I would do.
But my God, 14 points a game right now.
Yeah.
Second worst in NFL history right now. Yeah, 14 points a game. Think about how bad that's atrocious. I think maybe that's why this defense too. It's like, especially this past week? It's like, what's the point? Our offense will give us no help no matter how good we play. Mm-hmm. It's nuts.
Yeah, it's definitely very demoralizing. And now I'm starting to figure out why Russell maybe pushed so much for a contract extension, because he had 2 years left on his current deal. Maybe he knew the end was near, and he was like, hey, I got to get some money fast because I got 12 bathrooms. I need to pay for those.
Yeah.
Yeah. Moving on, we have the Browns versus the Buccaneers. This was an overtime thriller, and the Browns came out on top, 23-17. But Bucs fans, do not worry. You are still atop your division, sitting quite comfortably in the 4 seed. Sadly, that is the case. Decker, what are you thinking about this game? Do we think... Oh, actually, Kaz, I had a question for this. Browns are currently 4-7. They have Deshaun Watson back now. He's supposed to be their franchise QB. Do we think they have any chance of making the playoffs this year? Of course, you can also talk about the game itself, but I wanted to prompt you guys on that, get your thoughts on it. Decker, how about you start?
I'll touch on the game first. Bucks worry me for sure. Obviously, anybody that comes out of this NFC South will, most likely be a first-round exit come playoff time. But now you have Wirfs go out for your best tackle, your best lineman right now, go out for 3 to 4, or 3 to 6 weeks, or 3 to 4, whatever it was, with an ankle sprain. I'm really worried about that. The Brady and Godwin connection right now is looking really good, and Rashad White's playing very good. But Evans this past game was pretty quiet. Leonard Fournette is I don't think there's any hope of him picking it up the rest of this year. Defensive wise, got Chubb ran all over this defense this past week, and
he was. I will say, he was pretty quiet for most of the game, and then had 2 pretty explosive runs. So the numbers are a little bit inflammatory, but yeah, the Bucks. Sorry to interrupt you, but it might be a little misleading, but kind of not really, because they can't give up big runs like that. So, go ahead.
But then the more worrisome for me was the Bucks secondary in this one. Amari Cooper had a big game. Peoples-Jones had a pretty all right game, and then Njoku had that phenomenal one-handed catch to send that game to overtime. But I'm just worried about the Bucks. Just rest of this year and next year, because I think I don't know if Brady comes back or not, or what's gonna go on with that whole situation and their plans at QB. But man, their O line right now too is just it's a mess for the Bucks right now. I think that 2-game win streak they had when they beat the Rams and then the Seahawks in Germany, I think that was a little bit misleading of this team, because there's still a lot of flaws with them. But then to touch on your Watson point, Sam. So the Browns are 4-7 right now.
Yep.
And the division leaders are the Bengals and Ravens at 7-4. The only way they could somehow sneak in would be a wild card spot, and I think even the last wild card spot is 7-4 right now, with the Jets or is it the Jets or the Bengals, or the Bengals in that last one? I can't remember, but
yeah, I think Bengals are. Yeah.
I think it's a loss. I just don't think they can do it at all, unless the Jets completely fell off these last couple weeks, and Watson just ignited a spark in this team. But I think at 4-7, you already dug yourself too deep of a hole. So I don't think Watson's gonna make much of an impact.
Yeah, that's fair. Tyler, do you just want to share your thought quick about that?
Yeah.
Talk about the game.
Yeah. So the Browns' offense with Jacoby is the 13th highest scoring offense in the league. Just barely top half. Their defense is bottom 5. It's 28th. So this offense, to me, it's not the problem. Their defense is sucking it up so hardcore, and it's kind of like the same thing for the Packers for me. You don't start your backup who you have questions about until you're mathematically out of the playoffs. I say they stick with Jacoby. They owe him that much. Like, dude is such a good guy. The locker room loves him. You know, that block that he put on Antoine Winfield Jr. on that end around for Schwartz for the touchdown, like, he pancaked him.
Yep.
It was hilarious. So I say they ride with Jacoby. Like, I can't get behind starting Deshaun Watson in any facet, but especially you can't start a QB who hasn't played in, what is it, like 2 years, like close to 2 years now, year and a
Yeah,
half.
pretty much. Yeah, it was
So-
the playoffs in 2021.
Yeah, you can't start a guy that hasn't seen the field and that you have questions about. So I say that the Browns stick with Jacoby. I don't think Deshaun Watson should start another game until there's more answers to the lawsuits. But yeah, I just don't like the Browns' mindset here. Yes, things look a little dire, and you need a spark, but it has to come on the defensive side. You know, you can't make the playoffs with a bottom 5 defense. Sorry. So, yeah, that's where I stand on that.
Okay. Yeah, I was looking at their schedule too, and I thought, like, because they'd probably have to win out to make the playoffs, or
Yeah,
because like
close
9
to
and
it.
8's pretty tough, pretty close to that. Yeah, and I was just looking at it, and it's probably not going to happen. They play some pretty good offenses, which one of them is the Ravens. And moving on, perhaps another kind of stinky doo-doo defense we got here, because it's the Ravens versus the Jaguars. They lost last second, 27-28. Jaguars came out on top, and Ravens are 7-4. Jaguars are the opposite of 4-7. I don't remember who wanted to touch on this one.
I did.
I did write it
Yeah.
down. Well, Tyler, you can talk about it then.
Real quick, if there was any debate on who was better between Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields, it ends at this game. Trevor Lawrence had a phenomenal game against a really good Ravens secondary, Ravens defense. And I am so sick of hearing like this recency bias putting Justin Fields in like top 10 quarterbacks like in general. It's just disgusting to hear. And I would still put Mac Jones over Justin Fields. Justin Fields is more of a running back than Lamar Jackson will ever be. Yet he gets all this praise from people because he plays for the Bears. I don't know, but Lamar Jackson can spin it and he can read a defense. Justin Fields is a one read or run kind of guy, and he still is. He was that at Ohio State because most of the times his first read was always open because they just sign or they just bring in track stars that run all over defenses. Trevor Lawrence is clearing away the best QB from that draft. I'm sorry if you disagree, but you're wrong. Like Trevor Lawrence final drive, with the cherry on top of the touchdown to Marvin Jones in the back right of the end zone. Was it Marvin Jones or Zay Jones?
Yeah, Marvin, and then
Marvin, okay, that's right. That Zay Jones had a really good game, but the reason why I feel like most people think that Trevor Lawrence isn't good is mainly because recency bias with say like Justin Fields, whatever, but B, how many Jaguars games have you watched? You know, it's like there's no publicity, and you're not seeing him in the game. Like all you see is like for me, like the ones that I see are like the bad games where like he had 5 fumbles in the rain in the monsoon against the Eagles. You know, so it's just it's good for Trevor to have where it's great for Trevor to have these kind of games because it proves what he's living up to the draft type, which I think a lot of people were saying that he's overrated, but he's there. Like, he is going to live up to that hype. He just needs a few more pieces around him, but he looked really, really stinking good in that second half. So, and Lamar didn't. So
Nope.
that's just the difference, yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that part of the reason why maybe a lot of people don't care for Lawrence it's definitely that draft pedigree that he had. I mean, everyone said that he was going to be like the second coming of Peyton Manning, pretty much, with how good he was going to be. Obviously last year he didn't look like that. Of course, he's still trying to get there. He hasn't done that consistently. This game was great, but last year I would have said Davis Mills was the best quarterback. That's not the case anymore. He did look pretty good his rookie year, but not anymore. So I definitely do think that that's the biggest factor, but I will never be a Justin Fields is better than Trevor Lawrence guy. Justin Fields is maybe better than Melvin Gordon, but that's about it. Deck, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think a lot of people, like you said, Sam, about last year in the draft pedigree, like him coming out of Clemson, the national championship poll, big time school, big time performer, and people just like completely forget his rookie year. Like, he had Urban Meyer, who was an atrocious coach. He was doomed from the beginning. Not many number one overall picks are gonna, no matter who you have, is gonna be able to succeed and gain some attention in that front. So to get Doug Peterson this year for Trevor Lawrence, and then just this game, like that last drive to win it for Lawrence was just surgical. I mean, just beautiful. Like, a great drive by a young QB in his second year against a good Ravens defense. And I applaud Doug Peterson, the absolute cojones, to go for 2 and the absolute dagger against a good team like the Ravens. Yeah, that was really good. The way the the Jaguars started the season, I wish this is how it would have been throughout. Because if we're talking Jags like in playoff contention right now and or in a wild card spot, I'd love to keep talking about this team. But I mean, I still applaud them. This was a great win for them.
Yeah,
agreed.
Yeah, definitely overall, Trevor looked good, and he's certainly better than Justin Fields. Speaking of Justin Fields, we have the Bears versus the Jets. Now, I wanted to touch on this game because something really funny happened, and I just want to talk about it. As some of you may know, Justin Fields did not play in this game. He was out. And during the pregame, there were talks that that Nathan Peterman would get the start. But in the end, it was Trevor Siemian. But during that time, funny friend of the show, Adam Rank, he said something real silly. And if I can find it, I'm going to play it for you all through the microphone. Because this just made me mad in the best way possible.
Am I crazy? Door's over here. Am I crazy for this? I want this to be Nate Peterman in a way. I still think we can win, so I'm cool with it. Let's go, Bear Down.
Okay, now let's just take a second to unpack this. When you look at the Bears' offense, all right, Justin Fields, what does he do best? It's not passing. It's not throwing to receivers. It's running. Let me ask you, Adam, what do you think Nathan Peterman is good at? Do you think he's also a 4.4 runner that can do what Justin Fields does? No. And Justin Fields, while I don't like him too much, he's the only reason you have been in any of these games because he can run. And the audacity to say such blasphemous words like we can maybe still win against a defense like the Jets that is so good. They are incredible. Sure, this game might have been, okay, because we know about Mike White. This game could have been like 9-3 but it sure as hell wasn't going to be high scoring with Nathan Peterman. And guess what? That's exactly what happened. Bears lost. They lost by a lot to Mike White, who is the GOAT, 31-10. Get this man off the air. I don't get it. Sorry, guys, but
No, you're good.
Yeah.
I understand. It's frustrating, but every fan base has guys like that. He just happens to be one on network television, which is frustrating.
Yeah.
But that's why he's there, so he can look like an idiot, and people like us call him an idiot, and we keep tuning in to watch him be an idiot. So
and he makes more money.
and then he makes more money. Yeah. So, but yeah. Trade Zach Wilson.
Yeah,
On the Jets.
Mike White looked great.
I mean, this happened
Oh my
last
God.
year. Mike White looked good for one game, had a mediocre game next, and then looked really bad in one game. So,
Yeah.
yeah, if you want to talk about draft hype, talk about Zach Wilson. Like, if Trevor Lawrence was compared to Peyton Manning, Zach Wilson was compared to, like, Aaron Rodgers. He has never been good. He's been hurt, and when he's not, he loses the football games and then doesn't take accountability. So if I'm Saleh and I'm this upset with him that I start the backup and then the backup goes and does this, he's gone. He's gone for I'll take a ball boy for him at this point. So, yeah, Mike White, him. Got that dog in him, all of that. And yeah, this Jets defense, they're good. I mean, they're top 5. So, they just like the Broncos. They just need a game manager on offense, and they'll win some games.
Yeah, no, because you weren't here for the talk during Thanksgiving, but I'm very confident that Mr. Jimmy G, or maybe even Trey Lance, but most likely Jimmy G, will be going to the Jets next offseason, because that's exactly what they need, unless Mike White keeps being the GOAT and proving the haters wrong.
I trust this Jets leadership.
Me too.
I trust Saleh and Joe Douglas, their GM. I think they're really smart and will make the right choice. If this was, like the old Jets of like when they had Adam Gase or something, I'd be worried, and they would probably be keeping Zach Wilson through all this. But I trust them. But one question I do kind of want to pose, or just kind of bring up, just in general, it's what was the point of the James Robinson trade? That one's really got me thinking, because yes, Breece Hall went down with that ACL injury, but you saw Michael Carter, and now apparently his coaching staff loves Zonovan Knight. And James Robinson was a healthy scratch this past week, so I don't know. There's one thing I've been thinking about is was the Robinson trade really worth it? I mean, was it? I mean, sure it was a I can't remember, was a 6th round draft pick, but still, I don't know. That one confuses me.
I think he was undrafted. Which made the trade it was a 6th round.
Yeah, for Robinson, what they gave up for Robinson.
Yeah, God, it feels like there must be something that like we don't see that happens within the locker room in James Robinson. Maybe he's just like a big bully, because like because I never liked him in Jacksonville for some reason. He played well, and then now he's not getting used here. It's weird. There must be something we're not seeing that they see, because I think he's a good player. Oh well, guess we'll someday we'll find out, like the James Robinson documentary or something. Moving on. We have the Bengals versus the Titans. Bengals won 20-16. Both these teams are now 7-4. Tyler, you had said you want to touch on this game. What would you like to say?
Yeah, Bengals are, like, despite the close score against the Titans, Bengals are looking pretty good right now. I would say that let me see something real quick. Yep, so they've got a top 5 offense and an almost top 10 defense. They're 11 right now in points scored or points allowed defense. So I'm feeling really good if I'm the Bengals. I said that both the teams in in the Super Bowl would miss playoffs, but it's looking like they're going to prove me wrong. They've been playing pretty dang well. So I'm going to end up, eating my words at the end of the season because they're going to make the playoffs. They're 7-4 right now. And yeah, they're heating up too. They're looking pretty good. So that was all I was going to touch on. But also Titans kind of having, they're having the season that we thought that they were going to have up to this point. They were off to a slow start, but 7-4 right now still. Holy shnikes. I'm just looking at their stats right now. They have the 26th scoring defense, but a top, they have the 8th best defense. And they're the Broncos. They got a really good defense and a bad offense, but that offense is doing just enough. So, I still like the Titans to make the playoffs. I do like the Bengals to make the playoffs here. So, that's all I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, both teams probably will make the playoffs, but I think that Bengals will make it much farther than the Titans once they get there.
Yeah, I think the Bengals are gonna. I think the Bengals could even just win the division outright too. The way the Ravens are kind of playing.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Lamar
also a good
definitely needs
point.
to pick it up.
Yeah,
Bengals
I would
line too,
definitely
looking
agree.
really. They're gelling too. Their Bengals
Yep.
line's gelling perfectly right now.
That glue is settling a little bit, to say.
yeah. Moving on, we have Sorry, I couldn't think of a good transition. That's probably the first time ever.
Right.
Moving on, we have the Commanders versus the Falcons. This is just gonna be really brief. I remember as well because we just wanted to touch on, Washington's on one heck of a win streak right now, and they're currently the 7th seed, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I guess my question is, do we see this streak continuing, or do we think that they might slow down? I don't even know what their upcoming schedule is. I should look into that.
They have, let's see, Commanders.
The Giants.
They got the Giants twice in a row, 49ers, Browns, Cowboys. So they'll probably lose one to the Giants, lose to the 49ers, toss up against the Browns, and then I'd say another toss up against the Cowboys. So they could still potentially have 3 more wins in them, but I would say that's their ceiling.
Yeah.
But hey, that puts them at 10 and
7.
7.
Yeah,
And
so they
that's
would
a
still make
playoff.
the playoffs.
That's a playoff record. And even if they drop, 3 of those games in this division, 9 wins might give you the last wild card spot. So, or not this division, or this
the conference.
Conference, yeah, the NFC super weak this year. So they might just be doing enough to slip in, and we might see all 4 NFC East teams make the playoffs this year.
That would be crazy.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah. Moving on. We wanted to talk about the Raiders versus the Seahawks. This was also going to be brief, and if I recall correctly, it's to touch on the fact that we should just make every year Josh Jacobs' contract year, because holy crap, is he playing very well because of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got to get paid.
Well,
God, that's what's so tough. I don't know if I want to pay him. Pay running backs in general.
No,
him especially.
It is
Yeah.
dicey, yes.
you're right. Like, he's having like a Shaq Barrett contract here kind of thing, where they pop off. Not that he hasn't had good years before, but he's producing at an insane level, especially this game. And the Raiders, they were kind of in that like phase of like they declined pretty much every rookie's 5th-year option and got rid of some guys that they drafted in the first round. They're probably kicking themselves in the butt right now, but Zamir White is still good. Their backup. I have never been a guy believing in paying the running back. Yes, he's having a good year. I don't know. A team like the Cardinals can sign him for an insane amount of money or something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't think this warrants him getting re-signed. Personally, or if I'm the Raiders, unless he takes a little discount for staying in Las Vegas, then he can sign whatever he wants. Personally,
Yeah, because that's what's tough is that because I found his stats, and the past 2 years, he's averaged 3.9 yards a carry, and then now he's up to 5.4. So it's will he feel? I mean, will this be a Russell Wilson effect? Will he be satiated by his money and play like shit?
yeah. Well,
That's what's tough.
I mean,
obviously don't know about anybody.
He's just running so much just harder and faster this year. Like if you just watch him, he runs like a bat out of hell. Like he is just shut out of any analogy you want to make for running hard and fast. He's making insanely quick jump cuts. He looks really good, and the numbers reflect that. He's leading the league in rushing yards for a reason. So, but still, I got to stick behind saying you don't pay a running back big number, big salary. So,
Yeah, because I was thinking, with your analogy, we take one out of the Chris Collinsworth playbook, and say, "Here's the guy that's coming down your throat."
there you go.
Yeah, he loves that one.
Yeah, he does.
Moving on. Yeah, moving on. We have the Saints versus the 49ers. I don't know why we want to talk about this one, because it was 13-0 win for the Niners.
Yeah,
Who want to talk about this?
me.
Both of
Super,
you?
yeah, super boring game. But 49ers, they're a top 5 team. Yes, this game was close against a 4-8 Saints team, but to shut out a team in any capacity is impressive. And this 49ers defense, come the end of the year, they're already top 5. Come the end of the year, they could be the best in the league. And this offense, it'll come along. They had some injuries at the running back, go figure. Christian McCaffrey is dealing with some soreness, and Elijah Mitchell is going to be out 6 to 8 weeks. But 49ers are good at basically just picking up randos on the street and asking if they can carry a football. So, this 49ers team, similar to last year, you're not going to want to see them in the playoffs, man.
Yeah. They scare me. I mean,
Yeah.
they haven't allowed a second half point since week 8.
Yeah.
They're pretty much fully healthy now too. I mean, Bosa's been back.
Yep.
Who else? Greenlaw. No, Greenlaw wasn't hurt, but Kinlaw.
Yep.
So
How's the?
Armstead,
I don't
too.
know about their old line. I
Um,
can't remember if is
I think Trent Williams is back. Yeah,
Trent,
Yep.
I think Trent's been back.
he came back 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. So
Obviously the running
and
backs.
and we said Saints defense is good. Haven't been playing up to their potential, which probably explains the low numbers. And Jimmy G at QB does just enough. So yeah, I am very confident come the end of the season that 49ers are going to be a really tough playoff team.
Yeah, I would probably have to agree with that. Because there's certainly a lot more teams I'd like to see the Vikings play that aren't the 49ers. So that's something to keep in mind. And then moving on, we have our Sunday night game, which was the Packers versus the Eagles. Eagles win another game. They're now 10-1. They won 40-33 against the Packers. Now, Tyler, of course, I'm going to let you start because this is your wheelhouse. What are your thoughts?
I'm going to start by asking you two a question.
Okay.
Who starts next week, Jordan Love or Aaron Rodgers?
Who do they play?
The Bears.
You should
I
start
mean-
Love, but I'm thinking it'll be Rodgers.
I would say, because you'd said this earlier, Tyler, the fact that like teams should wait to like play backups until they're mathematically eliminated. But I mean, 4-8. Come on, it's over. So I think I would start Love too because, while I do think he's just a teensy weensy overhyped because of the Christian Watson touchdown, which was like 50 yards catch and run. I was watching some of those throws, and they did look really good. So
Yeah,
I think I'd go Love as well.
Yeah, what's the harm of just giving him a good stretch here, which he's never had in his career yet, and just see what you got. I mean, that's what I'm thinking.
I'll say this: you don't, no matter what, you don't give up if there's still a chance. Like you're like, oh, they're 4-8. Like, come on. Like, if the Vikings were 4-8 and they put in their backup, even though they're not eliminated yet, you would be mad, right? Because it feels like they're giving up, right?
I mean, if Kirk was playing like shit, then I might not be surprised.
Yeah, but there's still, to me, there's, playing with a broken thumb on your throwing hand. That's hard. I'm sorry. You're gonna say, oh, whatever. It's a broken. It's bad. It's tough to play through that. And that can explain some of the lackluster plays or lackluster games that Rodgers is having this year. And to me, I've said this at the beginning of the season, or maybe it was halfway. The biggest sign that you need to move on, or you shouldn't be a fan, or whatever, you disown someone, is when they give up. It looks like they give up. It happened with I forget what team it was earlier in the season when they just decided to run the ball 30 times when they were down. I think it might have been the 49ers. That to me is so disheartening as a fan and as just a watcher of football. You start Rodgers until you're done. When we're mathematically eliminated, yeah, you can start Love, but I promise you, he is not going to look good. Okay? He didn't look good in the preseason against backups. He looked good against a Eagles secondary that was 20 yards downfield playing prevent the whole time. And even if you watch the 9 throws that he had, he missed a wide open Allen Lazard on an out route on a scramble play when, yes, he tried to push the ball to the end zone because we were down, but you got to take what you can get in that scenario. So, Zach Wilson, I'm almost to the point where I would take a ball boy for Jordan Love. Rodgers still has good years in front of him. We have to surround him better. And go ahead. What are you going to say?
Yeah, I was just going to say that you mentioned the thumb injury being the reason why he's looking as good. I mean, I don't understand why then you don't look at the fact that he has the injured thumb. He's clearly not playing well through it. I mean, I genuinely think that you give him time to rest.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. I still think we have a better chance at winning with Rodgers with a broken thumb than Jordan Love healthy. Right. That's where I'm at.
Okay, well, I genuinely have to disagree a little bit. I
mean, you haven't seen him, Sam. You haven't watched him. I've watched him in the preseason. I've seen what he's capable of. He's not good, okay? And I will, if he plays at the end of the year and he plays amazing, then you guys can flame me for it. But as a Packer fan, as a guy who's seen him in the preseason, at the countless errors he's made, he's not good. And it's a little bit you obviously have a lot of hate towards Aaron Rodgers, right? And so that's going to play a little bit into the decision-making. I have a lot of love for Aaron Rodgers, so that's going to play a little bit in decision-making. When it comes to Jordan Love, it's just purely he is not a good quarterback yet. And Like, yes, he could develop at the end of the season into something, but Rodgers with a broken thumb, with a punctured lung, still to me is a better shot than Jordan Love. Okay, and that's where I'm at. I will stand and die on that hill. And it's against the Bears. Aaron Rodgers is of course going to have an amazing game against the Bears, because why wouldn't he? It's the Bears. So
owns them.
He owns them, and so I'll end on that part, and I will say I do want to touch on the Packers defense. We need a different defensive coordinator. And yes, LaFleur has been defending Barry, saying that the players just have not been living up to the scheme, and that basically we had like 22 missed tackles that game, which, if you're unaware, is a lot. So, but it's been the same thing year in, year out. Haven't been able to stop the run. And when you give up over 300 yards on the ground in a primetime game, that dude should be out immediately. Because that is pathetic. That is Vikings level shit. So I was wholeheartedly expecting him to be fired, but I don't know what kind of hard-on LaFleur has for Barry, or just he's deflecting until the end of the season, but like LaFleur said, no matter what plays we have called, you've got to tackle first and foremost. Yeah, no shit, but the calls aren't good to begin with. Like I'm sorry. Like, we have to change our defensive scheme up. And I've been talking to you guys about it briefly. Just like, I would love them to hire Leonard now that the Badgers picked up Fickle and are moving on from Leonard as their head coach. He might stay as their DC. He still stays in Wisconsin if he comes to Green Bay to be their DC. He's a phenomenal young defensive coordinator. I think he would be really good. And the other guy who's kind of a long shot that I would want is Brian Flores. He had the only reason why the Dolphins last year were even anywhere near playoff contention was because of that defense and that defensive scheme. So I would absolutely love a guy like Flores to come in and just rework this defense, put our cornerbacks on islands, make them make plays, which I know they can, and we can get a shit ton of pressure, which our defense is built to do, but just hasn't done because we play such soft coverage. So I've had a lot of soapbox on my soapbox moments this year as a Packer fan, but it at this point, it's like, what are we doing? I still haven't lost the faith, but we got to fire. We'll talk about this at the end of the year. Goody's got to go. Defensive court, Joe Barry's got to go. There's a lot of work to be done this offseason. So,
yeah, I mean, I do think that maybe part of the reason, which this kind of ties into my reasoning as to why, because there are Vikings fans that also want our coordinator fired, Ed Donatel. Mm-hmm. I do think that perhaps part of the reason is that when you're at this stage in the season and you think you have a chance or do have a chance to make the playoffs, perhaps doing that big shakeup would cause more harm than it does good. And perhaps that's what LaFleur's thinking with keeping around till the end of the season, because you can make adjustments, but changing the scheme now might be a little too.
That's the thing. There are zero adjustments too. Zero adjustments, but yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, you got to play a little, somewhat of a devil's advocate.
You understand too. It's that soft defense, bend don't break. It's so frustrating, and unless you're winning one-score games, it's not working. It just doesn't work, and you make bad QBs, mediocre QBs look good. And that's so frustrating because then casual fans come out and be like, oh my God, just for example, oh my God, Mac Jones put 300 yards on you. You let that turd ball put up that many, like
Exactly. Yeah.
it, like whatever. So, I do agree. It probably is a little bit of deflecting until the end of the season for Barry. I hope it is at least. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I got
Yeah.
one more question for Tyler though. Like,
Okay.
I know Sam. I know we see this as Viking fans. You know, we face the scrambling quarterbacks, and we never put
yes,
a QB
yes,
spot.
yes.
The question I want to ask you, Tyler, because there was a couple moments I missed in this game, but
Yep.
did the Packers ever put a spy on Hurts? Because
Yes.
that's like
Yes.
that's like a Vikings adjustment that never gets made.
Swear to God, if there is a single play of defense where Quay Walker isn't in a QB spy against the Bears, I will rage. I will rage. The rest of the defense can do their job perfectly against this Bears offense. Just limit Justin Fields' ability to run the ball. Quay Walker has sideline to sideline ability. He can make the plays in a rundown. If he's not put in that position, I will rage. I will freak out. So, like, obviously it's not it's not realistic for him to be in a QB spy the entire game, but if it's not damn near every play, it'll be like, what the hell are we doing here? So, QB contain every single play if I'm Joe Barry here.
Yeah.
Is Fields for sure coming back?
I believe so.
It sounds pretty certain. Yeah. But yeah, and so I know we had one more game we wanted to talk about, being the Colts and Steelers, but we are in an hour, so I'm just gonna say it quick. Jeff Saturday, bad clock management, bad.
Yeah, really bad.
Matt Ryan, Butterfingers. Okay,
There you go.
Moving on, we have our Week 13 predictions. We're gonna talk about 4 of those games and who we think is going to win. So starting off to transition quite smoothly, we have the Packers versus the Bears, and so I guess we could phrase this as if Justin Fields is playing, which we're pretty certain he is going to play.
Yep.
Decker, what's your diagnosis on this event?
Yeah, and it's got to be the Packers. Even as bad as that, 6 or 7 they've lost, whatever it's been. The Packers just still run away with this. Like, Adam Rink's going to say it's going to be a shootout. To talk about Adam Rink, Sam, to touch on that, I know you're dire hate for him, but Packers should run away with this. No problem. Like Tyler just said, if you can limit Fields, get a spying him, the rest of the offense, Packers can completely shut down on the Bears front. So I think Packers should be able to get this no problem.
Yeah,
You have more faith than I do. I think it's going to be close still, but
I was going to say the exact same thing. I do think it's going to be close as well, simply because the Bears can only run, and the Packers' defense really can't stop the run, as we've talked about. I think it'll be close, but the Bears can put up 30 and still not win, so I would say that the Packers do something close and win. A close one. Tyler?
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be I feel like it's going to be a close game. If it's not, I hope it's a blowout in the Packers' favor. The only way that the Bears are going to win this game is if Fields has a Hurts type of game on the ground again, which he's capable of, which scares the hell out of me. But yeah, I think they can do it. We'll see.
Yeah. Moving on, we have the Vikings versus the Jets. Vikings are hosting Robert Saleh and friends in Minneapolis, and I'm going to open this one up. I'm going to start this because, God, if this was Zach Wilson, I would say no problem. It's going to be one possession, but I'm not worried. Mike White kind of scares me. He can throw the ball better than Zach Wilson can. And yeah, the secondary still is not healthy. But with that being said, it's going to be one possession, no question in my mind. But I'd be silly not to take my boys in this one, but I am actually genuinely scared to watch this game. Decker, your thoughts?
Yeah, this was one where we wish we were facing Zach Wilson because we could say comfortably W. I don't know. Obviously with this defense that we're putting out there every week, the quarterback will be able to put up yardage and look reasonable. So I think Mike White won't have that like last year, the great game to atrocious game. I think he'll still be serviceable. It will help on the Vikings defensive front, the D-line having Dalvin Tomlinson back for this game, which O'Connell said he will be back. Yeah, I'm gonna roll with the Vikings.
Shocker.
Very, very close, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Defense, it's gonna be a toss. How much is this Jets defense gonna give us fits, and how do we look on O? So we'll see.
Yeah. Tyler, what are your thoughts?
Hot take: Jets win by two scores. If Sauce is on, Jay Jettis the whole game.
Oh, yeah, that's gonna be a fun
I honestly,
matchup.
what?
That's gonna be a fun matchup. I didn't even think
I
about
think
that.
so too. I don't think he's gonna shadow him the whole game though. I think he's gonna stick to one side, unfortunately. But this Jets defense, schematically and player wise, is good enough to kind of bracket him. He's still gonna have a really good game, but I can't say the same for the rest of this Vikings offense. And another little hot take: Quinnen Williams, 3 sacks on the game. He's gonna absolutely destroy the interior of the Vikings offensive line.
Yeah, specifically Ed Ingram. Yeah.
It's got to be a lot of quick passes for sure because we can't sit in the pocket like that Cowboys game with a front like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, this will certainly by no means not be challenging. This will be tough, but I gotta roll with the boys. Moving on, we have Dolphins versus the 49ers. These are two of the top teams in the league. Dolphins come off a win against the Texans, no surprise there. And Niners won a not so fun game against the Saints. I wonder how much injuries are going to have an impact for the Niners, but I don't want to have that soil your ideas. Tyler, you can start this one. What are you thinking?
I would love it to be a shootout. I honestly just the coaching staff, just like knowing each other so well, worries me a little bit when it comes to like a high scoring game. But I mean, there's no stopping this. Both of these offenses, but I trust the Dolphins run game more than I trust the 49ers run game, and I think that's what it's going to come down to. And obviously there's going to be explosive plays all over the place, but I think I'm going to take the Dolphins in this one.
No, I definitely have to agree because I know I kind of sprinkled that in when I said the injury thing between CMC and Elijah Mitchell. Yeah, I mean, obviously the Niners defense is good, but Tua doesn't have to do much with the kind of weapons he has between Hill and Waddle. So it'll be close, but Dolphins will win. Decker?
I'm actually going to roll with the Niners in this one.
I mean, yeah, it's a good pick. Yeah.
I just think game is in Santa Clara, and then the biggest factor for me is Teron Armstead's out for a few weeks now. So,
I totally forgot.
Always out it. Oh, the Dolphins guy.
Yeah. So you got Bosa, you got Kinlaw. I think did Armstead come back this past week or is it coming back this week? I can't remember what it was.
No, he. That's a good question. Actually, I do not know. I can check on that.
And for me, like the Dolphins, that game against the Texans, obviously being against the Texans in that offense, they looked phenomenal. But there was a stretch there in the middle of the game, end of the third, or middle of the third, going into the fourth a little bit. They let up, I think, 3 straight scores by the Texans. I think there was a field goal and 2 touchdowns. I'd have to check back on that. But Dolphins definitely got a little bit leaky there against the Texans, though. And, while McCaffrey might not be fully 100% going into this one, I still think the playmakers they have around will give the Dolphins fits. And I don't know. I think the 49ers defense is just going to give too much fits for the Miami O. As special as Hill and Waddle are, I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on Tua on this one. And with
Armstead is playing, by the way.
Okay, so with Teron Armstead being out for the Dolphins, that's gonna be pretty big for them. So I'm gonna roll with it.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be very close, but I'm gonna roll with the Niners.
All right. That's fine too. This will definitely be probably the game of the week for a lot of people. This should be a fun one, whether it's high scoring or not. Moving on to our final prediction of this week, we have the Chiefs versus the Bengals. Now, I think a lot of people might jump to the Chiefs, but something to keep in mind is that the Bengals beat them twice. Last year, I think in the last week of the season, of the regular season, and then the AFC Championship. So perhaps Zach Taylor can do something, which is plan against the Chiefs, or are the Chiefs that good to break that little streak they got going? Decker, you start because Tyler's camera's being weird and I can't see him. What are you thinking?
I think it's gonna be. I think this one's gonna be another close one. But the game's in Cincy, right?
Yep.
I didn't write that down. Sure. Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the Chiefs. It's just for me, it's so hard to bet up. It's so hard to bet against Patty and Andy Reid and this team in November and December where they won like 26 in a row or whatever it is, and week in and week out they just continue to prove what they can do on offense with Kelsey, and then mixing in Patty spreads it around so much with guys like MVS, and Sky Moore has been getting 11 recent weeks, and if Kadarius Toney's back for this one too, I don't know if he will be or not, but Pacheco's been running really good too for them. So, well, I think Jamar Chase, most likely will be coming back in this one. I just can't go up against the Chiefs. I think it's gonna be very close, but yeah, I don't think the Bengals are gonna be doing enough on defense in crucial times, in crucial moments to stop the Chiefs' offense. But I could be completely wrong, but I think the Chiefs take this one. It could be like it could be reversal from last year's AFC Championship. I think maybe Bucker hits like a game winner in this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, some people would say that you'd be quite silly not to take the Chiefs. I mean, they're 9-2 and they're playing some of their best ball in a while. But call me a silly boy. I take a team on a win streak, baby. I'll take the Bengals in this one, but I think I'd make that dependent on. That's dependent on whether or not Chase plays. I think that'll have a big factor, but I mean clearly something's working for the Bengals against the Chiefs, and I'm gonna roll with it. I'm gonna take the Bengals on this one. It'll be close, which has been the story of our picks so far, but I'll take the Bengals. I'll take them on this one. Tyler, your thoughts?
I'll just be contrarian, kind of. I'm gonna say Chiefs in a blowout, two-score game, two-score blowout, if you can call it that. Chiefs look really good on both sides of the ball, and yeah, I just think it'd be. It's more to me. It's more. I don't want to say more likely, but yeah. Well, I will say, we going to talk about the Browns Texans, even though we kind of talked about it briefly and we're already way over time.
I don't think we had any plan for that. No.
Okay, I just want to say.
You can talk about it if you want.
Yeah,
to.
I just want to say that personally, I don't think Deshaun Watson should be playing, and it is a little fishy to me that, of course, the first game back is the Browns against the Texans. It's like storyline of the year kind of potential, right? And it's like of course it is. Why would the NFL make it anything else in a suspension? So, but if I would not be surprised if Deshaun Watson comes out and plays bad. And if he does, there's absolutely no excuse for that. I last time we saw him, he was playing really, really good football. We've seen players take a year off of football and come back at insanely productive levels. We saw it with Joey Bosa and Micah Parsons when they were entering the draft. They forgoed their senior year, or they didn't play in their last year of college football, and they were still high end first round picks, and they came out and were breaking rookie records. So to me, if Watson comes out and plays anything less than what he has been playing, it's a failure on his part. So.
Yeah, I think the one thing that we can really hope for as humanitarians is that Watson goes out there and he just totally fucks up one of his knees. Or both. Yeah. Because, I mean, he was found not guilty, but it's like, come on, one of those has to be true, right? Anyways.
Unfortunate. But.
Yeah. That was a nice note to end on, Tyler. Good job.
Sorry.
Good job on that one. No, it's okay.
Wait.
Oh.
Funny pick of the week: Colts over Cowboys.
Oh shoot!
Oh, that's funny.
If we're all doing that, let me check real quick.
I've already made a funny pick. I'm taking the Bengals over the Chiefs, so that's my funny pick. Decker, you have 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4.
Broncos over the Ravens.
3.
Funny pick of the week.
Oh, okay. That's a little too funny. If that happens, Decker, you better buy a lottery ticket because that'd be crazy. Anyways, yep, you heard it here first. Broncos will beat the Ravens. Okay. That has been our show. I hope that you all enjoyed listening. Of course, if you have, please share this with your friends. Tell them about the Moderately Athletic Boys and the fun times that you have listening to them. Subscribe. Like us on social media. We're on Instagram and TikTok, stuff like that. Yeah. Thank you so much for listening, and have a good night, everyone.
Yes, sir.